Working together every day though, like we have great days every day. Like laughter, creativity, fun, but it's never been a point of contingency. It's always just been this flow, this fluid motion of working together.
I think that the biggest thing that helps us be able to work so well together is that we have deep conversations for hours every day. Like, we probably talk more emotionally deeply in one day than most couples do in a month.
This is your official invitation to the Pasta Night Club.
We're Michelle
and Ashley,
the female co-founder duo of the Pasta Night Couples Journal Set. We interview couples who are just trying their best.
Let's get into the dirty stuff.
Yeah.
Asking the real, hard, sometimes uncomfortable questions we all really want to know.
Oh,
Or
you guys are having
like-
sex every day?
I mean, yeah.
Welcome to Love and Pasta. So we're so happy to have you. Let's get this party started. Welcome to Love and Pasta, Francesca and Kody. Thank you for joining us. You guys are based in Miami.
Yeah, we're in Coconut Grove, Miami.
Amazing. Okay, so to kick off, tell us a little bit about yourselves. How did you guys meet? How old are you? Give us the lay of the land.
Do you want my version or her version?
We want both.
I'll try to be quick, but we were both in sales and recruiting for separate companies at that time. We didn't know each other. She was actually recruiting a girl to join her sales team in her company.
How old are you?
How old was I?
Mm-hmm.
I was 22, as a baby, doing sales and recruiting, and this girl that she was working with to try to recruit to her company, ended up joining my sales team in my company because we met at a thing. And
No, it's not because they met at a thing. It's because he looks the way he looks and she wanted to just be around him and not me.
She was open to opportunity and change, and so
No, she wasn't.
she ended up joining the bright side. And then this girl posted me on her story, and then Francesca saw this story of me on this girl's Instagram. She followed me, and then I DM'd her because I also saw that she was outgoing. She posted a lot, and I thought she might be good as a salesperson, influencer on my team as well. And so
he saw me as, oh, this girl can make me a lot of
Yeah.
money.
I was just going to say.
So I went to a medium when I was like 19, and she was like, I was dating a kid with dark features, dark hair, dark eyes. And she's like, no, you're going to marry blonde hair, blue eyes. So like, I'm like, when I saw him, I'm like, it's you. You're here. You are the person.
This is it.
When I saw him and I followed him, it was for the pure intention of, I want to date this man.
Okay, so you weren't thinking about the business.
No, I was like, I don't need this man in my business. I don't want to do business with you. I strictly want to date you and hang out. So when he DM'd me, I was like, this is Jesus. We're here. We're ready. And it was so non-romantic, so like I'm into. It was very like, oh, me and my business partners are doing this event. Do you want to come? I'm like, no.
Kody, were you not looking to date anyone, or you just weren't thinking about that?
I invited her to beach parties. I invited her to happy
Okay,
hour.
but you guys have to remember, these were all parties for their business. It wasn't like it was all like, oh, me and my business partners are having a beach event. I'm like, I don't want to be business partners. I want you to be my boyfriend.
Okay, listen, if you're planning a wedding, you have to know about guest lists. It's like your own private social network for your big day, which is so cool. It keeps all of your guests connected in one spot. Honestly, it's so much better than just a wedding website. With guest lists, your guests can connect with each other, ask questions, and you can share real-time announcements and updates. There's also a shared photo album, so everyone can upload their pictures after the event. My husband and I went to a destination wedding where they used guest lists, and it was so much fun. The couple built excitement before the weekend by posting local guides, recommendations, and cute photos of the two of them. And even though we didn't know many people going, we connected with other guests through the app. My husband even organized a golf day with some of them, and it was great because he didn't have to bother the bride and groom for people's contact info. I also loved seeing everyone's photos in the shared photo album after. It made the whole experience a lot more personal. If you're planning your wedding, go to the App Store and download Guest List now. Search Guest List Wedding App in the App Store or Google Play Store, or head to guestlist.app to learn more. You can also follow them on social media at @guestlist.
So how did the change happen? How did it go from business to what sparked romance?
I think after I said no to all the events, I said, I'll go to coffee with you alone. Just you.
I like that. Good move.
We met for coffee. He was wearing a green shirt. And I saw him there just sitting there. And I was like, this is my moment. And that was probably when like we started to hang out after that. And so we'd be at my apartment every day. Literally hanging out. Nothing happened. We were just literally hanging out. And probably for a month or maybe 3 weeks, every time he would leave my apartment, I'd walk him down and he would be like, I think you are super great, but like you are not my type.
Oh my God, really?
I'm everyone's type, first of all. Second of all, why are you here then?
Yeah.
And so my roommate.
Were you guys, like you say, him coming to your house, were you guys like sleeping together at that point? Were you like in it, or like you guys were just
We
like,
were, like sleeping in the same bed, but like nothing happened.
We hadn't even kissed for like the first month.
Yeah, nothing. And so I'm like, oh, maybe this kid like really actually doesn't like me, or like I don't know what's happening.
Yeah,
so
she was like, I mean, I guess he's gay. I don't know what else to do.
I don't know. Like maybe he literally, I'm not his type, like literally. And so my roommate had a birthday party at our apartment, and he came over and we were, all having fun, whatever. He stayed that night and I was like, oh my God, this is so cute. Still nothing happened. And he was DJing that night. And my roommate went to go and like change the music and saw a girl on his phone and saying like cute little flirty messages or whatever. I didn't know this.
you have a good friend. She's like, oh, I'm just changing the song, but I'm like,
Yes, screenshotted them, sent them to herself, and then sent them to me. So I wake up the next morning all like chipper-eyed and cute. And I'm checking my phone and I'm like, I'm like, oh my God. I'm immediately like woken up. My heart's like pounding. So I turn over and I was like, okay, listen. I said, I know we're not anything, so you don't owe me an explanation, but I just want you to know that I have enough friends. I don't need any more friends. So if you don't want to be something, then I don't want to be friends with you. And his face just got like pure white. And he was like, okay. I'm like, okay, what? He's like, no, I want to be with you. I'm like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, I want to be with you. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, for me, it's like, give it a shot because we were already becoming really good friends really fast. And at that point also, I also still had in my mind stuck that we were going to work together. We were going to do sales together and have the same team, be in the same company. And so for me, it really was still with this idea, this dream in my mind for us to work together and do business together. And so that was definitely part of half the reason why I wanted to. And half the reason was like, okay, I'll give it a try. I've been single for a long time up to that point, and I've only been doing business and personal development and meditate and cold plunge and yoga and just do sales and whatever. And so yeah, let's go for it. And so yeah, we did it. I mean, I wasn't even really, I think for the first couple months, really even super into our relationship romantically. It was still very, I guess, platonic in like we were just working, hanging out.
and you were so young.
Yeah. How old were you, Francesca?
I was a year older than him, so I was 23.
Okay. Still, you guys were so young.
And I love the confidence. I feel like that takes a lot to be strong enough to do that and to go for what you want. And I admire that.
I think I was single for so long at that point, like coming up on 3 years, almost 3 years in like a few months. And so I think over that time, I was like, okay, the next time around, obviously as girls, like you've had those boyfriends that trick you around and you're kind of in this, like, I don't know what we are. And I promised myself that I would never put myself in a place of going to bed being like, what are we? Like, I either know what we are or we're not anything. And so that was the first time where I was like, okay, I'm going to do what I always said I was going to do. I'm going to put my foot down and hopefully it works out. And if it doesn't, then it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, a few months in, I think I realized that I wasn't as healed or as confident as I thought. And he was much more developed and grown than I was in that realm. And so we started dating in May. By July, I'll never forget, he walked in my room and he looked like he was crying. And I'm like, oh my God, he's going to break up with me. And he was like, sat me down and was like, I don't know who did this to you, like in your past, but I didn't do anything to you. And I can't have a relationship like this. Because I was if he didn't answer in a certain amount of time, like my mood just like dropped. And I'm like, okay, cool. And that was all me. And I just never had anybody like put me in my place, or everyone else always just played into it. And so he was like, I can't do this if this is how it's going to be. Like, I don't want a relationship like that. And I was like, and I called my mom after he left. We didn't break up, but that was kind of like the warning. And I called my mom like, I need to go to therapy right now. Like, I need to go. And then I went, and everything fell into place after that. But the first 6 months were just a little bit up and down for me because I never had somebody more grown or developed than I was. And so for him to push me to talk or communicate, or the minute I had an attitude, he was just always like, hey, well, your attitude just changed. And what did I say? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And so I think it was just new to me to have someone confront me in the moment. I wasn't ready for that.
Kody, you said that it took you like a little while to get more to that like romantic side of things in your relationship. So I feel like that must have affected you, Francesca, to know that it wasn't like quite that like crazy intimate like feeling just in the beginning. So I feel like it's natural to kind of get in your head about that too, and maybe get a little self-conscious and stuff. So it's nice that then he did step up and he was like wanting to communicate and make things better. But I think it's also like a little bit understandable, I think, to feel that way when he wasn't maybe all in the beginning, you know.
I was also in my past relationships, I was very emotionally dependent. And so I think I was already just falling into that dependence. And I think that's what it taught me is I need to be emotionally independent. And then it kind of worked out. But I think that's what he saw is I was just starting to become dependent so fast. And I think if he wasn't there emotionally, it probably scared him a little bit of like, whoa, you're on so strong and so hard so fast. That was just a habit I had of just immediately when someone liked me, I was like, okay, I love you. And they were whoa.
I can relate to that, especially when I was in college, for sure. Because you're like searching for it, right? And like we see the highlight reels on social media, and you have this idea in your mind of the relationship that you want to build, and you're like, this is the blonde guy that the medium told me about. This is it. This is my time.
Shout out to the medium.
Shout out to the medium. She was right.
But that's a lot of pressure. And to be able to be in a relationship where a younger man has the EQ to really be able to support you and help you grow is massively impressive.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think all of us growing up, we have a lot of instances, a lot of relationships or situationships that we can learn from, but most people don't learn from them. They just say it's that person, it's guys, it's that old type or whatever. And so I think that most people blame it on others rather than blaming it on themselves. And so I think that I had time to reflect and grow and develop based on the relationships that I had growing up in high school, college years. I'm still a baby when we got together, but at that time I had taken time enough, I think enough to reflect and develop, like, okay, I need to take things step by step and actually reflect on my actions, on my behavior, on their behavior, on being her and her actions. Do they line up? Could I see this making sense? And because most people just say, oh, we're in love, we're in love, we're in love. And then a year or two later, now they're in a disaster of chaos, emotional chaos and roller coasters back and forth because they didn't take the time to build those building blocks, that foundation of emotional regulation, conflict navigation, crisis management in those early days.
Yeah.
Kody, was there a turning point for you too, where you were like, because like you said, you weren't maybe fully in. Was there a turning point where you're like, okay, I'm fully in? Because you guys have such a strong relationship now. So I'm just curious as to when that turning point was like, now I'm fully in this and I feel like this is my person.
It is really wild to sit here and even have this conversation now because of how it is astonishing how we are in a different universe compared to 5 years ago. So it's absolutely wild. But I think that for me, it was kind of a turning point. Once we moved in together, I think that was really like, okay, we can make this work because oftentimes you can have a great relationship. You can be all rainbows and unicorns and butterflies or whatever, but moving in is way different. You're seeing 100% of someone rather than 60% of someone.
Yeah.
And so I think after
how long were you guys dating before you moved in?
Only a little over a year.
Okay, that's a long time.
I feel like that was a long time.
It is young, but you guys were kind of young, but I think that's normal. Like,
For the record, the first time I asked him if he wanted to, he said no.
okay, so you asked him. I love that.
I'm like, wait a second. I'm a year in, the time is ticking. What do you mean no? I'm like, wait, what? And I think there was just a little sense of fear. We're both cancers. We're a year and a week apart. There was an emotional side to him that I didn't get to yet And I think that was part of his environment as well. When we were in 2 different companies, just like a quick backstory, the way that we did business was very different. He was taught very traditional, very like community and friendship. I was taught very loud, very influencer, very, I curse, I yell, I am very like outspoken. And so I think his friend group kind of looked at me as like the outcast of no, like this is not.
Like you're intense.
Yeah, she's a lot. This is not how we do business. But like for the record, I was doing more business than all of them. Anyway, so I think that was like his reservation is like, what is this going to be like? What is this going to look like to everybody? Now I'm like moving in with this person. And so I had to understand that we were just came from 2 different worlds. And so I was trying to give him time and space to be like, okay, I said, why? Why don't you want to fit together? And I think we had those conversations, and then he kind of came around to, okay, I do actually know this is how this works. This is like the next risk, the next chance to see if we can make this work. But yeah, I feel like after we moved in together, it was just like.
And so you guys moved in together where? In Tampa?
Yeah.
Okay. So now take us through. So at that time, you guys are both working for different companies. And I know that Francesca, you went through sort of an evolution. It feels like faster on the career front than maybe Kody did. And you exited your business, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. And so like in an MLM sort of thing, ultimately you own your own business, right? Like you have to be in it to win it. So at the time that you decided to exit that, was it hard for you because you guys sort of had this dynamic, like watching Kody continue on and continue to grow? What was that like for you emotionally?
I think Kody was ready for me to exit probably a year before I exited. I didn't exit when I should have because I think I wanted it to work so bad. And I was trying so hard to make it work, but you get to a point where you're like, I'm not 18. I want to have a family. I want to have a wedding. I want to travel. And if I can't make the kind of money consistently, I can't take the up and down fluctuation of $10,000 a month, $2,000 the next month, $13,000 one month. It's too up and down to build a stable life at this point. And so by the time I exited, he was like, I'm here for it, you go. It's just the exit itself for me was excruciating. I thought I was going to exit and be like, okay, I love you guys. You love me. It's okay. And I just got the total opposite of that. There was just so much bullying, harassment, hate. I lost so many friends. And probably for like 2 months, I was like unwell.
I've heard similar stories from what you're saying about that company specifically that you had been with. And I mean, ultimately, you're talking about a business model where people are relying on you to contribute to their check too. And I think that that's really hard. So then what did you guys do once, even if it was unsteady, the income, what did you guys do once your income stopped coming, Francesca?
Did you have a plan? Did you go to something else?
Well, for me, in 2021 is when I started in real estate acquisitions, and that's what I still do now, 3 years later. So that was when I started to be able to carry the load and cheer her on and support her to the best of my ability.
Yeah, I think that was my biggest worry is like, I can't leave because I don't know how I'm going to make money. What am I going to do? I can't pay rent. And that is when he sat me down and was like, here's what I'm making. I make more than enough for XYZ. Leave the business. Like, it's okay. We'll be okay. And I think that was like the green flag I needed to be like, okay, I'm not going to be homeless. I'm not going to starve. Like, I'm okay. And he probably carried that load for almost a year of paying all of that.
And when you, during that year, Francesca, was that when you were really taking off in your own personal influencer career?
No. So that year I tried a bunch of stuff. I tried e-com, I tried affiliate marketing, I tried my own like skincare consultation business. I was in an era of I've only ever tried one thing. And so before I decide this is what it is for life, I need to dip my toe in these things to see if I like it. Am I good at it? And I loved them all, but I think I loved them because I made money in them. I was good at sales. And so when I went to e-com, it went from 0 to 5 to 7 to 8K very fast. And I was like, oh, this is great, but I don't like doing this. And then I went to affiliate marketing and I'm like, oh my God, we're, 10, 12, 11K. but I don't like doing this. And so I kind of had to do this teeter of like, money is great, but if I don't like it, I'm never going to be able to do it forever. And so after the last business we did before I went full influencer was a marketing agency. And we loved that. Like we truly did love that. We loved helping people.
When you say we, was that you and Kody doing it together?
Yeah, I was helping there as much as I could with client acquisition and with client fulfillment, with social media, email marketing, deliverables for them.
And yeah, so then that after that, when we felt like there were so many people that needed help, but in order for us to help those people, the price had to be so high because it's so time consuming. And so that's when we sat down and I was like, okay, he's like, we can't do this forever. Like we have no life. We're working 18 hours a day to try to fulfill these things. And I think I always wanted the influencer route. I think I was just scared that I couldn't do it and that I'm not going to make money. And I'm like, I've tried everything else. Like the one thing I really want to do, I haven't tried yet. And when I fully was like, okay, I'm letting go and I'm just going to do this for a year, one thing for a year. And he said the same about real estate. That's when everything was like calm. And then the money kind of only went up from there.
Kody, was it hard dealing with her moving around all the time? You seem like a pretty regimented person, maybe.
Yes, so I'm very like, oh my God, I've been sitting for an hour. I need to go get a coffee. I need sunlight. I need to go for a drive.
She's like, babe, what are we doing? I need to go to the beach. I need to go get my nails done. I'm like, what do you mean? It's 2:00 on Tuesday.
I'm like, I'm literally get out of here. I need something.
It's every day all the time. I think it's also partially a biological thing. I think men are more rigid in routine naturally. I think women more naturally also want change, which I want to as well. I want to jump around it. I don't know. I think a lot of it just depends. Yeah. Anyways, the best year was really me pouring that belief into her that she can really do this. She can really have no cap to her potential as an influencer, being a paid content creator. I think so many people just quit before that actually happens, before they actually start to get traction and get to work with brands and do the real thing, and help her push through that and pour as much belief into her as possible and help her with her health, her physical, mental, spiritual health throughout that time. As me too, me building that, me developing myself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and her too. So I think it's just for her starting to see, okay, a brand paid her $200, a brand paid her $500, okay, now a brand paid her $2,000 for a post. I think just seeing that, because we can sit here and manifest, we can be manifestation babes all day, but seeing that concrete physical proof of like, okay, this works, this can happen, I think was really important for her. And now it's continued to carry her success this year.
You seem very grounding. Did she influence you to become a content creator? Like, when did you start because you're also sorry, should I refer to it as being an influencer or a content creator? I don't want to be like I don't know. Like, I
don't anymore. We don't have 1 million followers if that counts, but I think I haven't missed a day posting on social media in over 5 years. And so I always loved social media. I always wanted to do it for the most part, but my problem was that I was so business and entrepreneurial focused. That's all it was. It was just business stuff, marketing stuff, sales stuff. That was super boring, and I do not do any business content anymore, thank God. I just obviously like do health and fitness and travel, lifestyle, whatever we do. And it was just way more fun and more lucrative than most boring business stuff. So I've always really liked it, but obviously she has helped me, amplified me, and helped pave the road for me, kind of knock down the door, whatever, for me to walk through and have success as well. But having the actual steps of how to work with brands.
Every day I'm like, babe, we see like a Nike commercial. I'm like, babe, you're going to be on that Nike commercial.
Well, I've been seeing you guys be pretty Nike centric, getting Francesca's running career off the ground, which I love.
Yeah, super exciting.
Do you guys both work from home?
Yeah.
This is her. I'm in her office right now. Mine's on the side.
I wonder how that dynamic is, just like working together in the same space, creating a lot of content together.
This sound so cringe and so like, I don't even know, annoying. So there was a time when Kody did real estate that he had to go to an office. And so every day, the worst year of our lives, he literally wake up at 7 a.m. He's like, gotta go. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I can't do this. This is horrific. Working together every day, though, we have great days every day. Like laughter, creativity, fun. There are times where he needs to go in there and close the door. Like he's like, I need 2 hours to do these calls or whatever. Or I'm going to get my nails done, and then I don't know what else I'm doing. I'll be back in a few hours, but we have never gotten to a place, we almost at one point shared an office, 2 desks, 1 room, but it's never been a point of contingency. It's always just been this flow, this fluid motion of working together. But definitely the separate rooms obviously helps because I'm annoying. I'm like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? Watching him. I need to do stuff. I'm like, okay.
I never in a million years would imagine my daily life being as awesome and funny and
I'm funny.
cool and lackadaisical as it is today.
Like, I am funny, I know. And every time he laughs, I'm like, I knew I was funny.
We laugh our asses off every day, every night. I think that the biggest thing that helps us be able to work so well together is that we have deep conversations for hours every day. Like, we probably talk more emotionally deeply in one day than most couples do in a month. I know
We do talk.
definitely in some couples a year for sure.
Who usually like starts those conversations?
So usually what happens is it's like after 9 p.m. when we're just like hanging on the balcony, it's not always about like our relationship. It's just like life or ideas or creativity. One of us will say something like outlandish, and then that's where it just goes. And then all of a sudden we're talking about like 10 years down the road and we like do this business and this brand and this is what we're going to do and how we're going to build community, or it's like just random stuff. But I think it allows us to see each other's bigger dreams and the creative things that we wouldn't normally say. But yeah, just one of us says something that is like a little bit out there, and then that's how it like takes off every day.
Is it mostly about business?
Business or life or like travel or
I think both. Like,
Yeah.
oh, like, when we have our Netflix show, we need to have the kids do this and this, and we should do this content and talk about like our social media teams we want to build or things we want to create.
right. Or I'll be like, babe,
Fashion, merch.
I'm like, oh my God, next year, like, what are we gonna do when like someone's holding the phone and holding the cameras? What are we gonna do? He's like, that's the point, that we just do us. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So just like little things like that just pop up, and then it kind of just steers the conversation.
You know, Michelle, just like relationships, furniture tells a story, and sometimes it needs a little love to keep that story going.
Exactly. And that's where Once Upon Upholstery comes in. They're all about restoring the beauty in what matters most. Whether it's your favorite couch or a cherished family heirloom, they've got you covered.
Yeah, Chris and I actually used them to redo our restoration hardware cloud couch after it got completely ruined during our move from Austin to Miami, and they did an amazing job.
I remember that. It's such a good example. Just like couples grow and evolve, so do the pieces that fill your home. Once Upon Upholstery's skilled artisans breathe new life into your furniture, creating spaces that are as timeless as your love story.
So if your furniture needs a fresh start, like your relationship sometimes does, head to onceuponupholstery.com.
And don't forget to follow them on Instagram at Once Upon Upholstery for some major home inspiration.
What do you think? I know that, Kody, you mentioned that your following really, it seems like maybe picked up when you stopped doing your business content and really focused more on lifestyle. Francesca, like in your influencing career, like what was the thing that really made you take off?
I think it was the confidence to put things out without fearing that someone's going to say like you're wrong. I think when I got my holistic nutritionist license, when I got licensed in skincare science and formulation, I think I felt enough confidence to be like, I can say these radical claims and I have things to back it up. And so there were times where a thing would go viral and people are like, you're not a doctor. I'm not a doctor, but I am XYZ and I do know what I'm talking about. And I think me going the radical route of some opinions is what kind of pushed the algorithm my way. And I think that's it off. Yeah, the controversy.
Did you get any hate online for that?
I still do. When I say like anything about birth control or acne, they're like, no, birth control helped my acne. I'm like, no, it doesn't. I'm like, you're putting synthetic hormones in your body that just sets people off. But yeah, it's
How do you deal with that? How do you deal with the negative comments? Because I feel like that can be really hard unless you go into it maybe prepared to know that you're trying to create that controversy.
I think something that I've gotten very, again, confident with is I'm not afraid to say that I want to be famous, that I want to be a celebrity. I'm not afraid to say that. And I think knowing that that's what I want, I think almost, he tells me every day, you want to be XYZ. This is part of what that looks like. You want to have a private jet and be like Kim K. Go look at Kim Kardashian's comments. They want her jet to blow up in the middle of the sky. That's part of it. I'm sure that there's been times where there's been one or two that have dug a little deeper that I probably have went to him and said, like, this one actually hurt my feelings. That was kind of a different level of like insult. But literally this morning, someone randomly on our reel just put F you. And I started crying, laughing because I'm like, everything you could have said, you just wanted to say F you. Like, okay. So stuff like that, I don't care. But
we just had our first reel that hit over 1 million views, and it's about what pasta is your girlfriend. And we included gnocchi, and the amount of people being like, gnocchi isn't a pasta, it's a potato. Like, it's so crazy that this is like, but you're right though, like it was seen as controversial. And it reminded me of, so the thing that really made me want to have you guys on was the photo shoot that you did on the private jet. And I loved watching it because even in your stories and stuff, you could tell like how excited you were. And then it seemed like the hate started really pouring in. And I know that one of the things too that I've noticed about you is that you'll come on and you'll be like, listen, to the people who don't want to see it, like, why would you not be happy for us? You know? So like, what was that sort of feedback that you were getting that not necessarily people could see?
I don't know what set people off about that for me. It was just me. Like, I don't know what set people off, but I had so many people, strangers. Some girl literally reposted us on her story from like Poland and was like, these people are so fucking fake. This is not their private jet. And I literally responded, I'm like, I never said it was my private jet. It was just a photo shoot. Then I had people from my past that I think it triggered them because I think that was the first time our social media showed people that like the separation is coming. Like, we are not the same. And I want that. I want people to know that that was our first visualization in real time. Where like when we were walking up the stairs on that private jet when they were videoing, like we were literally whispering, this is like real time visualization. This is going to be real one day. And so I don't know if it was that, but so many people were like, wait, what's going on? Why are you doing that? And I'm like, guys, you guys are acting like I said, we just bought this private jet. I literally said this was such a fun photo shoot and a really good visualization, but it just set people off. I think it irked me a little because it was from people from my past, because that tells me that they didn't think that we were any different until this moment. And that then showed me like, okay, so this is only going to get worse, get bigger and make more money. And that I think more so hurt my feelings because I'm like, I'm still the same person. There should be none of that just because this is what I want. But yeah, the random people just hated it. And even on YouTube, someone was like, LMAO, this is the fakest scam I've ever seen. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? What scam?
It's funny because I find this to be really interesting. Since Michelle and I started Pasta Nightclub, obviously a lot of the content that we started the page with is in our own relationship. So like Fede and Michelle are like world travelers. Like they spent the last 3 months of the year, or the last 3 months, like for all of summer in Europe, in Asia, like traveling is their thing.
Right.
And Chris and I, we like spending time with our friends. Like Chris and I like to party and to be together and stuff. And so we have a lot of content between the two of us. And so it's been funny to me to sort of see, like, it was also really interesting that I can tell which one of my friends, some of them that I thought were going to be so supportive that aren't. And then people that I would have never thought would have been like messaging me and being like, this is so great. Keep posting. You got this. People that I had sort of like not written off, but people that I just never felt like were like
that close.
Going to be so supportive or something.
That was my biggest fear too. I think that has been with like starting my personal brand, is that feeling of like, what are people close to me going to say and think? So I admire a lot that attitude of like, fuck that. Like, I want to make it and I'm going to make it.
Learn who your real friends are. You learn who's going to go with you and who, who now I feel like I know now not to invest time in those people, which is nice.
Yeah. I think it was maybe right after the photo shoot or a little bit after, but he said like, babe, by the time people are clapping for you, you won't need it. And I'm like, okay, I'm okay. And I think there's always this longing when you start to get traction in somewhere in your life that you want those people to be excited because you want them to do it with you. Like, I want those people to come on our private jet when we have one, and come to these events. And now I see that like the people that I want to clap for me will clap for me when I don't need it anymore. And so that's kind of what I took from it.
I'm actually really curious. I know obviously you guys are both building up your brand. How often do you guys film content? Are you filming content every day?
This
Every
week,
day.
Haven't seen her doing the bag. I like wait to see on stories now what she's gonna pull. I thought it was like genius. I was like, this is such a great lead up to seeing what she's gonna post.
Okay, I feel like being online so much might hurt some intimacy, you know? Like I wonder how that is with you guys of being online, checking comments, doing all this stuff, like constantly having to think about what content are we filming today? How can we do some? And maybe even it takes away from romantic moments that you're like, okay, this is so romantic, but like, how are we going to film it? And how are we going to create content around this? So how do you guys balance like intimacy with creating content and still being present in your relationship?
I think for us, really make sure that we enjoy our content. I think that the closer, because we sucked before because who we really are, and how we want to portray it there's a discrepancy. I think for most people, that's how they are. No matter what you do, no matter if you ride horses on social media or if you do makeup and skincare on social media, the farther that you are from who you actually are and what you're portraying, that causes a friction in yourself and your audience, and you can't grow and can't have traction all the time. And so for us, the closer that we get to actually figuring out how to actually be ourselves in our relationship and as individuals, and then record that and document that appropriately for the platforms, the happier we are with the content, happy we are with each other. And I think that for us, that's why we are together. If it was only one of us, if I was just a regular working job guy and she was just trying to be a social media star influencer and I wasn't about that life, if I didn't do that, then we. And that's why I wanted to make sure in the beginning stages we grew through so much and talked about so much of life in our first year or two together so that we could work out long term and align. And so I think for us, it is romantic and fun for us. Like some couples like to go on picnics, and for us, we would love to do that too. And then we just record it. And so I think that when we know that that is our whole life long term, we don't see it as much as a detriment, where some people see like, oh, I have to make this, I have to make my content and my media, where it's our dream and we plan on doing this for 50 years. So I think it makes it, we can keep the romance when we figure out how to be more of ourselves and be authentic and not let a camera change us.
I think too, there's little things that we've done. Like we always will do a date night some day of the week. Something, doesn't matter what it is. We also get coffee every morning together. But if we are out dinner doing something, we'll usually make it a point to like, okay, if the food gets here, we'll get the videos and then we put the phones down. I think, and again, this is going to sound annoying, I guess, but I think that happens to people a lot because they don't talk. And no one talks enough. I think we talk an overly abundant amount that there's nothing to really catch up on because it's just a continuous flow of conversation throughout the day, throughout the night, throughout the whatever. But also too, if we go out to eat and then we come home, we're not doing content. Like usually if we go out to eat or we go somewhere and we come home, it's just like spending time together. And then the front half of the days are usually when we are like filming, editing, etc. So we kind of make those little adjustments to keep everything like in flow. But I'm sure there were times where I'm like, put your effing phone down. Like I'm saying something. Did you hear what I said? Or he's like, yes, you literally need to repeat it back to me. I'm like, okay, but I didn't see you see me say it. Or vice versa. I do the same. So just always pointing things out so that we know for the next time, like, hey, if he's saying something, no matter what I'm doing, let me just put my phone on and acknowledge that so he feels like I heard him and then I can go back to what I'm doing.
I think it's everything. The little things that we immediately talk about and unfold, no matter if it's how I cook her over medium, over well eggs, or how I'm watching TV with her or whatever, any little nuances that make us uncomfortable or make us feel a certain way, we bring that up.
That was new to me. Kody brought that to me. Someone's like, I'm fine. And then 6 hours later, I like have a breakdown. And he's the one that was taught me like, hey, your mood literally just changed in real time. So what did I do or say that literally made you upset, annoyed, angry? And for the longest time, I'm like, nothing. And so finally now he created that space where I can be like, hey, when I was trying to explain something to you back there, you cut me off. I know it wasn't intentional, but it made me feel angry and like you didn't care what I was saying. And so it's more of those kind of conversations now versus like, you're a dickhead or whatever. Jumping to anger, but more so being like, hey, what you did hurt my feelings. And I felt like you didn't care to listen. And Kody is the best person. He never, ever fights back with me ever. He's always like, okay, that wasn't my intention. And I apologize and I won't do it again. And so I had to learn to be like, that's the end. Like, there's no more fight left. And I'm like, well, what the?
That's probably why it works so well too, to have someone that maybe is a little bit more fiery with someone that's a little bit more calm.
It's also interesting because so many times when you look at a lot of like therapists or relationship like experts, right, or communication experts even, they really highlight like not saying that the other person did something, right? Like you're saying like, I'm feeling this sort of way, not you made me feel. And I think that it really speaks to the emotional like maturity that you guys have created through all of those conversations, that Francesca, you can tell him this is what you did and he accepts that, is I think a really good life lesson. And I think that if more relationships, if when you're in them, if you accept that you're both on the same team, that when someone says you did this, it gives you a sort of a different perspective on how to receive that. I think that's really interesting and a really great takeaway.
Yeah, he has said that probably the first few months when I was working on the communication thing. He has said that numerous times. Like, I would be so upset, and he's like, babe, we're on the same team. Like, I'm on your team. I would never intentionally blah, blah, blah. And I think, again, just for so long, it was always me against them. And I had to protect myself and make sure that you hear me. And so with Kody, it was like, he hears me, but it was also my delivery. I think girls sometimes get defensive and they get mean. I was working on not being mean and not having a tone or an attitude when trying to portray my hurt or insecurity. And I think it took a while, but now it's so much easier to be like, hey, when you said that, I know obviously you didn't mean it, but it hurt my feelings because it made me feel like I was put in the light of X. And he was like, oh my God, we kind of do it that way now, but it took a while because I think I was very defensive and I probably was mean at some points unintentionally because I was nervous or hurt or scared. But I think women, I see it more in women of they say really mean things when they're hurt instead of just saying, you hurt my feelings. And some of those things you can't take back. And so I always just try to remember, like, I'm angry and I'm feeling defensive, but it doesn't mean I have to be mean. I just have to figure out a way to portray that. And the only other thing would be, he's a very right now, let's fix it right now. I'm a very, bro, I need you to get away from me. I need 20 minutes. Let me just breathe. And then, because for the longest time, he'd be like, but babe. And I'm like,
Kody, how did you get to the point where you could accept when she told you, I just need to be alone? Like, how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I think for me that I would know that it's going to work out and be okay. I think most people, and from my standpoint where I want to be an immediate fix, let's fix this right now, I agree with the belief based on looking at the past of, okay, historically for the past 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years, this method has worked out for us and we've been great, even stronger after this minor conflict. And so because we stacked up that history, I had confidence that we were still going to be even better after. I was able to take that step to be like, okay, I'm going to give you your 20 minutes or your 2 hours to process, to digest. And then once we can take out some of the knee-jerk emotions of the situation, then we can come back together and actually talk about this in a more mature, more emotionally stable environment. And so I think that is the last probably a couple of years, probably the second half of our relationship to this point has really helped us be able to know exactly what our triggers are, I know the exact nanosecond that something has shifted in her mood, her tone, her energy. I can feel it and sense it immediately. And so because of those things, just learning those triggers and learning how energy shifts in a room, in an apartment, in a restaurant, whatever, learning those things has helped us be able to do the timing right and compromise between each other between, hey, I want to get this over with right now, rip the Band-Aid off. She wants to not dwell on it, but soak it up and digest it and think on it, calm down, simmer the emotions, and then come back together. So I think that's been a really
I think also with my therapist, those 20 minutes or however long he gave me was my period of like growth. Instead of snapping and saying something mean, I needed the 20 minutes to build the habit of don't snap, don't say mean things. What am I actually feeling versus what I want to say? And so I needed to articulate my thoughts and grow because I was so used to just being like, you're a piece of shit, you're mean, you're whatever. And I'm like, that's not true though. And so I needed that space to grow, to learn how to communicate better.
It's like the self-reflection of what made me feel so mad. Why am I so mad? And then be able to articulate that better without hurting the other person. Because it's like Kody said, if you're in a relationship, you're in a team, like you're trying to be the best for the other person and you want the best for the other person. So it's about when you're angry is sitting with it a little bit before you react. I think it's really important.
I definitely relate to the lashing out piece. And it's funny because even Michelle and I have talked about the way that I use the Pasta Night journal is different than I think some other people. I literally use it as a place to drop bullet points of things that I'm upset about. And it's given me the space to be able to be like, okay, now I'm going to think about it. And now going into our Pasta Night, the way that I give off the information is just so much calmer because I do need that time. I don't know if it's because I'm a Cancer like you guys. I feel that though. I get
There's
that.
nothing worse than like lashing out at your partner and then sitting with them and be like, shit, like, why did I say it like that? And like,
You're gonna die on my reel today. It's literally me being like, did you ever, what is it? Oh, I'm gonna read it to you because it's literally what we just said. It says, do you ever feel yourself being mean to your BF and then you feel like a horrible person because you don't know why you were being
oh
so
my
mean?
God, exactly.
I'm like, oh my God, I literally said, I said, babe, it's a real thing. Like, you actually feel really bad because you're so nice. I don't even know why I was mean. I just like, I don't know. But yeah, so that was one of the reasons why I needed the time to just like, I'm like, hey.
Okay, guys, I really want to know future plans for you guys. What's in the cards? Are you guys planning to get married anytime soon? Kids? Let us know.
Yeah, we're planning on getting a ring next year. So hopefully we're doing engagement 2025 and then probably planning a wedding for like 2027.
How old are you guys now? I feel like we didn't.
27, 28.
So leading up to this decision to get married, what have the conversations, and obviously I know that you guys have really great communication skills with each other. What have been the harder conversations? You guys are both successful in your own right. Is there going to be a prenup? What conversations have you had that have been more difficult?
We are not going to do a prenup because we literally looked at each other and we said, I didn't have anything before you anyway. So, and there's nothing that you could take from me that was mine. I had nothing. So,
I mean, that too. I mean, I say that we were together when I was making $4 an hour and, you know, we'll be together someday when I make $4,000 an hour. So I think I wanted to say it earlier, but for us, I think we have a real cheat code in our lifestyle. If you do work from home and have the flexible day-to-day that we do, because in one day we can grow as a couple where most couples take 6 months of going on dates and coming home after work to have those conversations. Most people say, okay, we're going to talk about this later. They come home from work, they're tired, they're stressed, and then they bring everything else from the outside world and their environment into the relationship and then blame it on this relationship, where for us, we make sure we're together literally 24/7 pretty much. So we make sure, hey, as long as we are good, as long as the foundation is us, as long as we are rocking, we're on the same page, we're taking the same strides together, whether one of us are ahead of the other at that time, or, you know, we're always trying to keep each other at 100%, pulling each other up. If we are good, then we will conquer the world.
Yeah, I think too, he said that to me so many times. Even as a girl, you just dream about like getting married and having kids and all this stuff. But when it starts to become inching to being real, like it's a little scary of, okay, I'm like doing this for real. And so he always reminded me, like, if we are not good, then the money, the fame, the things, nothing matters. I don't want any of that if you and I aren't okay. I'm sure we'll go tit for tat on little things, but we've had the conversations about right now in this moment, how do we want to raise the kids if we were to have kids, like wise or activity wise or school wise, like things like that. We don't want our kids to go to public school. I don't want that. I want them to travel and see more of the world than classrooms. And he wants that too. So little conversations like that, over time, you start to line up like everything's pretty in order right now. I know things change when they actually happen, but as of right now, like there's really nothing that we disagree on. I know they'll probably be like, I want this couch and he wants this couch. But other than that, like the major things that would cause friction, I feel like we've talked about.
I know this sounds dramatic, but we've pretty much talked about everything from when our kids are 30 years old.
Kody, I feel like you've talked a lot about wanting to be a great husband. When we talked earlier, we heard that a lot from you. You're really passionate about being the best husband you can be. And I'm curious what that means to you. What does being a good husband and father mean to you?
Yeah, I think that was also a huge shift for me when I was like, okay, I do want to get married, because when we first got together, I had a rule for me because my parents were teen parents with me, and I got married as teens, very young. So for me, I had a rule that I was like, I'm not getting married. I'm not even thinking about marriage until like 35 or 40.
I'm like, well, then I'm not the person for you, bro.
So she's knocking me down to marriage from 35 to 40 to, marriage at 30, which I think is a decent compromise at this. But I think for me being it, I think it was a huge shift where I was deeper, falling deeper in love. I didn't think I could really love a human being as much as I love Francesca. I mean that. I've never ever loved a human, family member, anything, because when you're so deeply connected on every single level and every single area of your life, and you want all these same things together, it is really magical. Like, it does start to feel like magic. But that was a turning point for me where I was like, my goal that used to be like, oh, I want to be rich and cool and successful. And I'm like, I don't care about all that. I know that if I will be the best husband in the world, the best father in the world, then all those things will happen for me because of the foundation there. And so for me, that definitely starts with health. I think it's very sad to see so many human beings, especially Americans, where the lazier society compared to most, because we're lucky to live the way we do in the States. But yeah, very sad to see a lot of men that don't prioritize their health. I get it. Life is busy. But for me, I'm like, work and money is after. Like, for me, it's health first, health and faith and personal growth, maturity, development first, and then relationship. And our relationship is most important after that. And then the work and money and stuff, that's after.
I think you also had to deal with that with my like health anxiety and stuff this year too.
I was going to ask about that. Francesca, you've been really open on your social media about your struggle with anxiety and how it seems like it's sort of been something that's gotten worse for you. You've also talked a lot about like your sort of physical health journey through your acne and through losing weight. Can you guys talk us a little bit through that?
Yeah, I always had anxiety since I was younger, but it was very situational. Like a breakup, I'd have anxiety. My parents getting divorced, anxiety. But overall, like, I never had anxiety. September of 2023, a very close mentor of mine died. And she was 32. She was extremely wealthy. She had the best doctors ever. And the cancer was regressing because she was doing it holistically. And they missed her having a kidney infection, and she went septic and died.
Oh no.
And so my whole life, I'm like, the more money you have, the more access you have to things to keep you healthy. And I think that just took me in a whirlwind, and I'm like, wait a second. She had all the money in the world. She had the best doctors. The cancer was regressing, and she still died. And that is where the health anxiety started. And then January of this year, it was just like a 10 out of 10. Like, I would wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, babe, I was taking a panic attack, but I didn't know that because I've never had one. And I'm like, babe, I can't feel my legs. I'm like, I can't breathe. I'm like, I think my heart is literally I'm having a heart attack. I'm calling my mom on one FaceTime. I'm like, I need to go to the hospital. And then someone with health anxiety, every little thing you feel, you're like, something's wrong. And so I was like unwell probably for 3 to 4 months. From January or February to July, I was probably in urgent care like 10 times. And they were like, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm not okay. I've gotten CAT scans, MRIs, urine analysis, blood, like everything. And for the first time, I saw him and I'm like, he thinks I am fucking insane. Like, he is going to leave me because he thinks I'm actually fucking crazy. But I was like, all I kept telling him was like, I wish you could feel what I feel because it feels so real that I can't function. Like, I would be typing on the computer and like my vein would move. And I'm like, Mom, I'm like, something's wrong. And she's like, what? And now looking back, I know how it sounds. But in that moment, like, I genuinely in my heart thought like, I'm going to die because no one is catching what is wrong with me because no one caught what was wrong with her. And then she died. And so after that, I think my last visit to urgent care is when I had a breakdown in my car, and I was like, okay, Fran, like, you have to stop. You have to stop going to urgent care. Like, they're going to put you away. Like, you have to stop. And so I called him. I called my mom. I said, this is the last time I'm going to urgent care unless something is physically wrong with me. So then I got a therapist, and everything was good. And then I had my first panic attack after that. And I'm like, okay. I woke him up. I'm like, babe, I'm having a panic attack. I'm like, go get 2 water bottles out of the fridge. I'm like, I'm opening my like therapy workbook. I'm like, okay, it's telling me to do this, this, this. I'm like, okay, 2 breaths in, 2 breaths out. And like 30 minutes after that, like panic attack was gone. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't go.
I'm so proud of you. It's hard in the moment.
You know, it's been a lot better. I probably still have little like things here and there, but I haven't got, and I think I've gotten a lot better with like, you know, there's only so much I can control until if it's my time to go, then I don't know. But I think I felt like I was wasting my life that I did have because I was so anxious all the time of like, oh my God, is this chicken cooked all the way, or am I going to get salmonella and die? I don't know. It just got so intense that I'm like, I either have to go away somewhere or I have to snap out of this. And my doctor was like, okay, we'll give you Klonopin. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, no. I just wanted some coping skills. And that was when I'm like, no, I know I can do this. I'm going to channel my inner Joe Dispenza. And if people can cure themselves from cancer with their brain, I can do this. And so every day, every night, he put on healing affirmations. I'd fall asleep every morning. He'd be like, I don't hear them. And I'd have to put the healing affirmations on. I'm healthy. I'm safe. I'm okay. And I think after so long of doing that, my brain started to rewire a little bit where I am so much better, would you say, after that?
Yeah, I think the past year, it was one of the, not that it's a good thing, but one of the best things that I could have gone through because it made me 100 times stronger as a partner, as an empathizer. For me,
he was like, I'm going to have to drop you off at the mental facility and come and visit you.
Yeah. I'm not leaving you, even if I have to come see you at the facility for lunch. I want to tell you I'm in this. So I know it was making light of that, but it made me so much stronger. And really, I've never cared around the clock 24/7. I had a lot of siblings behind me. And so I changed diapers growing up. I helped with my siblings, but just on a different level with her being a full-time 24/7 caretaker was a new level of love and a new level of empathy for me to experience and to grow through. And so it's one of the best things that I've been through in our relationship to grow us stronger together as a partner, because it has come higher hell water. It is practicing in sickness and in health and meaning it long before you say the vows. And most people don't really mean them because 6 months after they say those vows, things get rocky and half of people get divorced or whatever. So we mean those vows and we're practicing our vows long before we say them. And I think that's what will help.
And he's never seen me like that. My mom is probably the only one who's ever seen me that bad, honestly. And so I think for me, coming out of that and him still loving me the same way, I was like, okay, there's nothing else to see. This is like the worst it gets, because I was like nothing. I just was like a blank every day. I just sit there and just nothing.
Were there ever times, Kody, that you felt frustrated that maybe you were having to carry the heavier load, or that you were having to almost be sort of responsible for her own like ability to function, like, or when you did feel those feelings, right? Because like at some point you can't say that there was never a time that you were like really frustrated by that. How did you in that moment overcome it?
Yeah, I was definitely frustrated, especially given my background. I'm the person that I don't go to the doctor unless my leg is broke.
He thinks he's literally immortal. He's like, I'm living till 120 minimum. I'm like, what about today if we eat bad chicken? No.
And so we were polar opposites in that stance, that starting over a year ago, 14 months ago, was when that kind of started flaring up and happening often. And so for me, I'm like looking at you, I'm like, there was literally nothing. And so for me, the first probably couple months of this new journey was frustrating for me, because we went to all the doctors. I said, dude, they took your vitals, they did everything. They checked your head, they checked your head, they checked your heart, they checked your lungs, they checked your gut. You are good to go. I
like went as far as I'm like, I need you guys to do ultrasounds on my legs for a blood clot.
I get it though. I get it. Are you guys in therapy individually or together?
Individual. Well, he's not. I am.
So just you are. And Kody, you're not in therapy.
We will before we get married.
For sure.
But as of right now, just me.
Why will you before you get married?
Because I think given his background and his past of like how he grew up, his family dynamic. He's so grown himself and he's so personally developed himself. But I just want to make sure that before we have children, before we get married, that there is nothing that's still there that he feels like he hasn't healed from or that he's never had to talk about. And I don't need to be there for that. That is way before me. But I think that when parents don't deal with their trauma, their kids do. And millennials, I feel like, are the byproduct of that, really. And so that was a contingency for me. I'm like, I know you don't think you need it, but I need to know in my heart that you are open to it so that I know that our kids have fully healed parents. And he's been more than open to it. So it's really just for that reason. I don't need to be there. That's fine. If he wants me to, great. If not, I don't care. I just want to make sure that that part of his life is out, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And we've obviously discussed so much over almost 5 years of our family, our background, our traumas, and we've gone through everything, ugly, survival, dark, or when we were 12 years old and this happened, or whatever. Just all those things that most people talk over 20 years or learn about, or some people don't even fully learn about their partner, which is wild to me. We have dug so deep and dug so deep into each other, so digging this well for us long term. And so I think, and I do agree to then seek out the professional side of what else can I dig up? What else is there in me? That's why I want to go see Dr. Joe Dispenza and therapists and people and the Tony Robbins or higher level professionals in that realm to dig up, okay, what else is there that I can heal and grow from to be even better and to be more prepared for the next chapters that are coming?
Yeah. Your willingness is like so beautiful. It's really amazing to see, especially just being so young. I definitely relate to having super young parents, and it's a different dynamic. You know, when you grow up with your parents at the same time that they're growing up, that's a hard environment to be in sometimes. And it's been interesting seeing my family now that we're older, we're all in therapy, and the things that we've uncovered and grown together so much, it's cool. And I like that you guys are doing that. And so you guys are obviously, just as we're wrapping this up, you guys are obviously both super focused on personal growth and growth together. And is there any downside to that?
No, because we used to try to work on business and money for 12, 16 hours a day. And now we work more on each other than we do on work and money. And I think that will pay us more dividends than anything else would long term.
I think people take personal growth differently. Like some people take personal growth as in, I'm going to personally grow for my business. The shift that we made is personal growth, making it personal. Like, how do I become a happier, more peaceful, better communicator, or a happier person? So I think the personal growth for us now stems from individual. How can I be the best version of me? Healing from trauma, communication skills, conflict navigation. Like, how can I be better at that? I think that makes life better. So we kind of shifted from let's personally grow in business, but instead now it's like, let's personally grow independently. And then everything kind of just marries together from there. So I think that might have been the switch. The downfall, I think, was just the shift in focus.
What tools and resources do you guys use? I'm like curious because I feel like you are so emotionally intelligent and you guys do talk a lot about health and communication and stuff. So are there any things like podcasts or books or resources that you guys have used that have helped you kind of grow in your journey like that you would recommend?
I think for me, again, he was already like this when I met him. But for me, I think it was anything from Brene Brown. I think she's one of the best authors of like vulnerability and trauma and how that looks outwardly versus what it feels like inwardly. I think anything on communication, there's a book called The Super Communicator, and it's more so about reading the conversation. If he wants to talk about the analytic side of things and I want to talk about the emotional side of things, if neither of us are reading what the other person wants to have, it's not going to work. And so I think little things like that. But other than that, I think it just came from practice. So we've had conversations that didn't go smoothly because we were trying to navigate, like, what does this communication look like? How does this happen? And so I think it was a lot of trial and error. Like, what's the perfect situation or roadmap to communication when we're feeling XYZ? But I would say anything Brene Brown is incredible.
I also think that in our world, we consume so much. We try to keep a tab so much of the world in every area of marketing, of sales, of psychology. We hang out last Saturday or the Saturday before. Our date was
So embarrassing.
Barnes and Noble. We hung out at Barnes and Noble for like 4 hours.
Aw, that's so cute. I love that.
And so yeah, we love being in.
I'm over here reading like Super Communicator and all of these like psychology books. He's reading like a 700-page like Moby Dick. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, this is one of the best books ever. And I'm like, hey.
Classics. But I think also, yes, there are, people can consume a million podcasts. Everybody knows Jay Shetty. Everybody knows there's a million podcasts and books. And I think the first of our relationship and for a couple of years, I'll just consume. But a lot of people don't practice those things. Like people that have read 52 books in a year, cool, you read a book a week, but your life hasn't changed and your behavior and actions haven't really changed to reflect read and actually digested and consumed those 52 books in a year. And so I think most people, they know that's out there. We have access to everything. No matter if you live now in the Philippines or in Atlanta or whatever, you have access to anything in the world for the most part. And so most people have that, but they don't really practice that. So I think we actually act out on that and really just talking, observing. Most people don't talk about in their relationships. How did your mom communicate with you when you were 8 years old? How did your dad communicate with you when you were 16?
I think that's why I was so interjective of his past and wanted to know so much, because I think it tells you a lot about a person that, like, and same with me. There's a lot of values that I haven't met that I'm like, oh my God, those weren't my values. They were just values that my parents valued. And so I thought were my own. And so I think when you learn about someone's upbringing, not just like how many siblings they have or where they went to school, but how was your relationships with your family growing up, that tells you a lot about why they are the way they are now. And so it gives you a little more compassion and empathy of, okay, yeah, that makes more sense now that I know that. So, saying, hey, I know that this is what you're used to, but I don't want to do it like that. Are you open to a different style of X? So yeah, I think it was just like you said, just trial and error.
I love that. I feel like that's a really great piece of sort of final advice to leave with people. I think that was amazing. Tell us where people can go follow you guys. How do we get involved in your life? I'm obsessed with following you guys. So tell our listeners, how do they follow your journey?
I just on Instagram and TikTok. So Kody Thompson is my Instagram, and yes, and Ellie is her Instagram.
Kody with a K.
Kody with a K.
Yeah, Kody.
It makes me so mad when someone we get coffee and the name for the order. I don't even say Kody anymore. I say Kody Kody, and then I get the cup back, and it still has a C on it. And he's like, "Babe, it's fine." I'm like, "I'm going back." And he's like, "We're not going back." I'm like,
"Wait for her, man." Okay,
I just told you it's Kody Kody, and you put C, but.
Yeah, as well. But I think mostly Instagram is like our home, our diary, our journal. We still have to work and do a lot of other things. So we can't put everything. We try to make it our diary and our vlog of our whole life. We try to show more of our life every day. And it's wild because people are like, think that social media is fake. And I'm like, it is our actual life. Like most people treat social media as fake, and they only post when they do something cool or fun. And that's the problem where we show everything. We show the good, the bad. We talk about our own conflicts or problems, whether it's financial along the way or whatever. So I think just being really open on Instagram. And then 2025, we want to start our YouTube empire. It's a whole nother beast, but we really want to figure out in the next couple of years how to film more all of our life strategically and to bring that to life so people really see more of our day-to-day, not just our 17 stories.
Yeah.
And she's really good at TikTok. Seriously, she's not a coach or anything like that, but she's the TikTok guru. She's helped me so much in the TikTok realm. I think for beauty, for skincare, our TikTok is absolutely amazing. And then Instagram's more of our holistically all of our life.
I love it. Yeah, you guys are so fun to follow, and thank you for being so vulnerable. It's one of the reasons why hopping on this, I feel like I creepily know you guys already just because I followed along for the celebrations of Francesca signing with her agency to some of the lows and going through her health stuff. I just think it's really helpful, and it's really nice to see how you guys are really helping other couples, but also individuals to really make the most of day-to-day life. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for having us.
It was fun. We need to do it in person. Have a party.
Yes, in person next, 1000%.
I'll come visit. Okay, when I started our pasta night tradition, I never realized how much it would impact our relationship for the better. I've never been super into journaling, to be honest, but designing the Pasta Night journal has given us a way to follow our progress.
It's the same with me and Chris. Honestly, it was really hard for us to find intentional time to connect with each other, but the Pasta Night journal set finally gave us that space to do so. And it's also made us better communicators in our relationship.
Right? It's such a simple yet meaningful way to keep the communication flowing. It's for couples who want to dive deeper into their connection, but in a fun, relaxed way over dinner and maybe some pasta.
Exactly. It's not about waiting for the right moment, it's about creating it. Imagine a cozy night in, a great pasta dish, and some thoughtful prompts to get you talking about the things that really matter.
Not to mention, it's like a mini date night in a box. You can even make it a monthly tradition like we do. It's such a great way to reflect and grow together.
And the best part, just like us, you don't have to be a relationship expert. It's designed to be lighthearted yet meaningful with prompts that help guide deeper conversations.
So if you're looking for something to spark more connection in your relationship, this is it. It's our favorite way to keep the love and the conversation going.
Head over to pastanightclub.com to grab your Pasta Night journal set and bring more intentional love into your relationship. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Pasta Night Club for more date night inspiration and relationship tips.
We can't wait to see you there. That was another amazing episode of Love and Pasta.
Share your love story with us on Instagram, Pinterest, or TikTok at Pasta Night Club. We can't wait to see what you send, and we'd love to feature you on our next episode.